Pulavinaka, and welcome back to Breakfast at Fiji One. Mavis with you on this fine Wednesday morning. Now, to a story that I know that, a lot of people, and especially the sons and daughters of Lovoni, of Levuka, of Bau, will be looking forward to. Today is the day that they commemorate in the 1800s, a life-changing event that took place on that dark day of Lovoni. This morning, we're going to be having the story in two parts, where we've got Mr. Penny Totoka, who is the chairman of the Vunivalu Lovoni in Suva, who shares a brief history of the lead up to the dark day of Lovoni. In our first part, we tell a little bit about what happened on that dark day, which we're referring to, and of course the life-changing event that happened in the 1800s in Lovoni and Levuka of Bau. And we're having that conversation this morning with Mr. Penny Totoka. And of course, the second part will also be letting you know of what's happening today, which is a church service, a virtual church service is going to be happening, led by the Reverend Koroi, that's going to be taking place at 6 this evening. So we first go to that Talano session of our first part of the commemoration of the dark day of Lovoni.
Pulavinaka, Mr. Totoka, and welcome to Breakfast at Fiji One. Thank you very much for agreeing to talk to me this morning. Hey, sir, Mr. Totoka, maybe for starters, first of all, you like to, if I can kindly ask you to just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. My name is Penny Kustino Totoka, and my kinsman back in Lovoni would know us with the family surname of Bukalindi. And I hail from the village of Lovoni on Bau. And I have maternal links to another former village of Lovoni, which is Rukuruku, on the coast of Bau. And I am a member of the Lovoni Organizing Committee and the Vunivalu of Lovoni here in Suva. And we indeed privileged to be here on a breakfast show this wonderful morning. Naka.
Thank you. Mr. Totoka, if I can ask you about, this morning we're talking about, or would like to highlight the dark day of Lovoni. A little bit of the history of Lovoni. Today, is on the 7th day of July, is, a very commemorable day because a lot happened on this day back in the day. So please tell us a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Mavis. The story that has been passed down to us, the people of Lovoni, for generations now, it is rather not a very easy story for us to relay because of the sentiments and the hurt, if I may say, that's accompanied with it. But we have tried in the past, and we will continue to do so. The dark day of Lovoni is in reference to the day when my forefathers, or the elders of Lovoni, or as we say in Lovoni dialect, the Matua of Lovoni, were sold as slaves by the Vunivalu of Bau, the Cakobau, at the time, way back in 1871. So that basically is what we refer to as the dark day of Lovoni, and we always spare time on every 7th of July of every year to commemorate the dark day. There are many accounts, there are many stories, if I may say, that describe what happened on the day. But we also have the accounts that have been passed down to us orally. And we also have a story with us that we normally share, and we will continue to share on what actually happened on the dark day of Lovoni. But it is a day that, as I've said, we remember the enslavement of the Lovoni people. So irna ni mami matua and Lovoni. Yes.
Mr. Totoka, just for the sake of benefit of our of our viewers on Breakfast at Fiji One, and especially young people who would be watching this morning, probably, really have no idea of, what happened in the 1800s in terms of history. And if you could just relay just a tad bit of when this happened, in terms of the story of the feast that was prepared in Levuka by Ratu Cakobau. Just a little bit on that story.
Thank you. The day was 28th June 1871, back in 1871. Leading up to that particular morning, the Vunivalu of Bau had tried on numerous accounts to subdue the notorious and the rebellious army of Lovoni. Many traditional allies to the Vunivalu of Bau were sent by the Cakobau to try and conquer Lovoni and subdue its warriors, which did not succeed because of how the hill fort of Korolevu was positioned and how it was guarded and how it was protected by the warriors of Lovoni. So the Vunivalu of Bau did not rest and continued to try and subdue the people of Lovoni. So his last resort was the use of the men of the cloth. It was on that particular morning when we know in a traditional setting, they are the mbete, or the priests, so to speak. They are highly revered and they are highly respected. For we always listen and take advice from them. They are the link to the spiritual realm, and they also give us message from the spiritual realm, which sort of guides our ancestors back then on what needs to be done. So that particular morning, the mbete, or the priest of Lovoni, was very restless and had this unusual feeling. And then he told the warriors of Lovoni that there is one man that is coming up, that is ascending the hill fort of Korolevu. There's only one man, but his whole body is covered with ice and also burning flame. The method at the time was describing the men of the cloth, the Wesleyan missionary, and also a known advisor to the Vunivalu of Bau, Reverend Frederick Langham. He was accompanied by one of the representatives of Ratu Cakobau, Ratun Ronimbaka. At the time, they were making their way up to Korolevu with the endorsement of Ratu Cakobau to try and come and convince my forefathers to a feast that was prepared back in Levuka. So, as I've said, Lambete advised the warriors that, we must lay down our arms. We cannot fight. I am powerless. There is nothing that I can do that will enable us to defeat this one man, but it's a huge army, the army of the Lord. So that is what was used by the Mbete to describe Reverend Frederick Lang. When he arrived on the hill fort of Korolevu, he shared from the Gospel of Luke, the parable of the lost sheep. And this is what he said: ye people of Lovoni, you were already in the light, but you have chosen to go back to the darkness, which is sin. And the use of this particular parable was because that our forefathers of Lovoni already had accepted Christianity before that particular day. Before Reverend Frederick Langham came up to Lovoni, our forefathers already had a catechist from Bua, and there were also records of frequent visits by the Marist priests that were stationed at Levuka at the time, which is published in a book called the Levuka Journal. That was the record that we were able to gather and confirm that before that particular day, 28th June 1871, Christianity was already present at Lovoni. And as I've said, that's the reason why Reverend Langham used the parable of the lost sheep. And he told my forefathers back then, you are the lost sheep, and you're the only one that's left. So you must come, you must lay down your weapons. The time for war is over. And he invited them to a feast that was prepared by the Cakobau and the two Levuka at the time, at the village of Levuka, down on the coast of Bau. So that was the 28th of June. My forefathers didn't leave the village until the 29th with the endorsement of the Mbete. But when they left, a part of the group, or part of the warriors of Lovoni, didn't actually buy in to this story, if I may say. And they carried their weapons with them. They took their weapons with them along the trek from Lovoni down to the coast of Bau on the village of Levuka. And when they arrived on the village of Levuka, the Cakobau saw that some of the Lovoni warriors still carried their weapons with them. So he told them, put down your weapons, similar to what Reverend Langham had said earlier. Put down your weapons, the time of war is over, and come, let us feast. Let us forge a new beginning. The time of our differences is now over. So these warriors that still carried their weapons with them, they laid down their weapons. I think if you're familiar with Levuka, as you approach from the Vanganda, the end, there's a huge black rock that sits right beside the village of Levuka. I think it's called the Gun Rock now. On that rock, that was where my forefathers laid down their weapons. And out of those weapons, trees and plants grew and can still be visible right up until this day. So as they sat down to feast, just as they started, the signal was given, and the Cakobau's army surrounded my forefathers, and the dark day of Lovoni began.
Yes. Wow, and that's history. You're making mention of what happened on that day back in the 1800s, and many years later, we're commemorating that and thinking about that. The day that happened, a lot happened. It changed a lot to where we are today. Mr. Totoka, sorry, just in line with this, the celebrations or the commemoration from last year, you had this, and of course this year, and in this time we were having to go through COVID. I know that we're unable to go to Levuka. Yes. But of course, what are some things that the committee, or that you're preparing to commemorate this day, or some of the things that we can look back on?
Yes, of course. There was a huge celebration that was planned, not only by us, the Association of Lovoni, or the Vunivalu of Lovoni, that reside in urban areas. Back in the village as well, there was plans to hold a big celebration with intentions to invite special guests and chief guests to come back, or as we say, to go back to our origin, where we can go and sit and reminisce and remind ourselves of the sacrifice that was taken by our forefathers. But then I guess COVID-19 came in and disrupted our plans. But I think we are at peace knowing that nothing happens by mistake. So whatever it is, this is the current situation that we're going through right now. We're accepting it. There are current guidelines and restrictions put in place by the government, and we fully respect it. So that is why we had planned to sort of shift the focus and move the celebration virtually. I'm very happy to announce that the Methodist Church of Fiji has accepted our kind invitation through its Secretary for Evangelism, Reverend Ilesa Koroi, who will be hosting a online service, as we say in Siga, the day that we commemorate the dark day of Lovoni, and we also celebrate the day that our forefathers fully regarded and acknowledged that there's only one authority that we must all be following right now. That is the one true God and the Lord Jehovah. That was what happened at the day. So for us, the people of Lovoni, we don't really want.
My apologies.
Yes.
Just hold that thought. We'll come back after the break and we'll continue with this conversation. Welcome back to Breakfast at Fiji One. Thank you very much. We are talking to Mr. Penny Totoka, of course, committee of the Lovoni village here in Suva. And of course, we're talking about the dark day of Lovoni, 1800, in the 1800s, when part of the Lovoni people were sold as slaves. And of course, today we're talking to Mr. Penny Totoka, who before we went on a break, Mr. Totoka, you're talking about commemorating this through virtual church that is going to take place?
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, we are very glad to have the Secretary for Evangelism for the Methodist Church in Fiji, Reverend Ilesa Koroi, who has accepted our invitation and will be hosting an online church service. Like I said, nothing happens with a mistake. I mean, we had actually planned this big celebration. Realistically, with this day and age and the technology that has come about us, Lovoni doesn't really enjoy that very strong connectivity in terms of a network. So, if we had this celebration back in Lovoni, our kinsmen that are located here in Suva, that wouldn't have made it to Lovoni on the day or reside now all over the world, would miss out on the celebration. So we are glad. We're actually glad that we're able to hold this virtual celebration, and we can connect and we can link up with not only the people that are currently dwelling on Lovoni. There are others as well, our kinsmen that had been distributed and sold and have also migrated to other parts of Fiji. They are from Lovoni. They took the name of Lovoni with them. They are distributed across the islands of Fiji. They know themselves. We know them. They are a part of us. And we are glad that we are holding this virtual celebration so that they can also link in and also be a part of us on this very special day.
Of course, Mr. Totoka, where there's a will, there's a way. And
Yes.
on this day where Reverend Koroi is going to hold the church service, is there any particular event also online apart from church service, or it's just the church service where I know that by now you would have let all the sons and daughters of Lovoni know that this is happening?
Yes, unfortunately, due to COVID-19, we won't be able to have any physical gathering. Otherwise, like I said, there was indeed a huge celebration that was planned. So I think it's about time as well that we go back to the very foundation that builds up communities and the very institution that will ensure that we progress. That is the nuclear family. So like I said, we're very glad. We are going to be connecting from our very own homes. It is a time to build up as a family. It is a time to put aside our differences and reconcile in remembrance of what our forefathers did and the sacrifice they did. There has been a lot of changes that has happened, not only mentally, the way we live our lives, the way things are done even back in Lovoni today, but that doesn't take away the fact that we will always try to live up to what our forefathers had done for us before, and what we envision to build up Lovoni in the future. So that is why I mentioned, I think it's very important, and we're very glad that we're holding the virtual celebration, and we're sitting down as a family, as a unit, and it should start from Jerusalem, which is the family. So yeah, I mean, we're not missing out. We're not sad because the celebration is not happening physically. At the same time, we're empowered. It has given us a renewed strength that building up Lovoni can only start from the family. Yes.
Yes, so thank you very much, Mr. Tok. And just before we go, maybe just a word of encouragement from you, from the sons and daughters of Lovoni that will be watching through Breakfast at Fiji One this morning.
Yes, thank you very much, Mavis, for this wonderful opportunity. On behalf of the Vunivalu of Lovoni, the Ngonaturanga to Elevu, and the leaders of the various Yavusas that make up the Tekin of Lovoni, I would like to invite you all, not only, as I've said, the people that are currently dwelling on Lovoni right now, in Vunivalu of Turanga, where Lovoni shares its traditional allies and kinship. I can only mention some in the Watuliwa Magana Turanga na Tuinandi, and Lalanga Basin, Turanga na Tuizakau. Nangono turanga na tuimbua, mai kavala, mai kandavu, na abuso avalau mai vuno pula manitasiri, na abuso na mara in televu, ortono kikito from Kornikalu in televu as well. Ono turanga na tuiloboni from Onoilau. And like I said, there is a lot. I must apologize. I have not forgotten about you all, our kinsmen of Lovoni, but due to the time that we have, as I've said earlier, on behalf of the Ngonaturanga Natueli, I invite you all on this virtual celebration. It will be streamed live on our Lovoni page. It is called the Mositi Lovoni. You can search it up on Facebook, Mositi Lovoni, and you can probably put a like and follow as well. It is open to public, so it will be live streamed so that everybody and anybody all over the world, all over Fiji, will be able to watch. And I encourage you all. And I also call out to you, not only the people of Lovoni, if you have traditional ties and, if you think of Lovoni and you would want it to grow on the day, which is tomorrow from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. We will be holding prayer sessions. And I'm not forcing anyone to take part in this, only if you agree. So yeah, basically that is what we plan to do. We just want to rededicate ourselves. We just want to rededicate our Vanua, our leaders, our elders, just as our forefathers did on the day, 28th June 1871, where they recognized that God is King and is the only true authority that is able to direct us. And our theme for this year, before I forget, it's Lovoni, only God can dictate our future. Inaka.
Awesome, wonderful, wonderful theme indeed. Mr. Totoka, thank you very much for your time. And of course, today in the 1800s, today, the 7th of July 2021, we're looking back at how future, how everything changed from that day, and of course, going forward today. But of course, with that story, strengthening every son and daughter of Lovoni to go on and to know that whatever happened has happened, and that,
bygones be bygones, yes.
God has our future in store for us moving forward. Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Totoka. You have a beautiful day. And once again, the Mositi Lovoni is the Facebook page that you need to go to. If you're watching on Breakfast at on Mositi Lovoni, if you go onto that page, like it and follow it. And also today is the church service that happens today. Yeah? So you can watch on Facebook.